It's finally happening. November 8th, 2025. 2 days have passed since the supermoon reached its peak, and something extraordinary is occurring in your physical body that you can't quite explain. If you're reading these words right now, if this message found you today, it's because you've been feeling different since November 5th. Not sick exactly, not injured, but changed in ways that doctors wouldn't understand and medical tests couldn't measure. Your body has been speaking to you in a new language, sending you signals that feel strange and unfamiliar, and you've been wondering what it all means. Let me tell you the truth that will change everything. These aren't random symptoms. These aren't problems that need fixing. These are sacred marks. These are the physical evidence that you just passed through the most significant spiritual initiation of your life. And the universe is now preparing you for what comes next. The supermoon on November 5th wasn't just a cosmic event to admire or a time to set intentions. It was a threshold, a gateway, a moment when the veil between the spiritual and physical worlds became so thin that the universe could reach through and touch you directly, could test you in ways you didn't consciously realize, could evaluate whether you were ready for the next phase of your spiritual journey. And while you were simply living your life, making choices, responding to situations, handling challenges, the universe was watching. Every decision you made, every emotion you allowed yourself to feel, every thought you chose to entertain, every action you took or didn't take, all of it was being observed not to judge you, but to determine your readiness, to see if you could handle more light, to assess whether you could be trusted with greater spiritual gifts, to verify that you were prepared for the responsibilities that come with higher consciousness. And you passed. I don't know the specific details of your test because each person's examination was uniquely designed for their soul's particular lessons and evolutionary needs. But if you're experiencing the physical symptoms I'm about to describe, it means that during those critical hours of the supermoon, when pressure was applied and choices had to be made, you responded from your highest self rather than your wounded self. You chose love over fear. You chose truth over comfort. You chose trust over control. You chose expansion over safety. And because of those choices, the universe has now opened doors within you that were previously locked, has activated capacities that were previously dormant, has granted you access to realms of consciousness that were previously forbidden. And your body, your beautiful, wise, miraculous body, is now adjusting to accommodate these new gifts. It's recalibrating, restructuring, preparing itself to hold more light than it has ever held before. But first, if this message already resonates with you, take a second to like this video, subscribe for more divine insight, and drop the number 777 in the comments to activate spiritual protection and alignment for what's coming. Now, let me tell you what the supermoon was really about at the deepest level. In the spiritual realms, there are gates of initiation that souls must pass through as they evolve. These gates are not arbitrary. They exist to protect both the individual and the collective because spiritual power without spiritual maturity is dangerous. Access to higher consciousness without the wisdom to use it properly creates chaos. The ability to manifest rapidly without the discernment to know what should be manifested can cause harm. So the universe has safeguards built into the evolutionary process. Before you can access the next level of consciousness, before you can receive the next level of power, before you can step into the next level of your destiny, you must prove you're ready. You must demonstrate, through your actual behavior, not just your intentions, that you have developed the qualities necessary to handle what you're asking for. The Beaver supermoon in Taurus was one of these initiation gates. Taurus is the sign of the physical realm, of material resources, of earthly security. And the Beaver moon comes at the time when nature is making final preparations before winter. when survival depends on having done the work of building shelter and gathering resources. So this supermoon was testing your relationship with the physical world. It was examining whether you operate from scarcity or abundance consciousness. It was evaluating whether you trust the universe to provide or whether you try to hoard and control out of fear. It was assessing whether you can take practical action toward your dreams or whether you just fantasize without implementation. It was measuring whether you're willing to build something real that requires sustained effort or whether you give up when results aren't immediate. These are the qualities that determine whether someone can successfully navigate the next phase of planetary evolution that is now beginning. And you demonstrated those qualities during the supermoon window. When circumstances challenged you, when fears arose, when old patterns tried to reassert themselves, you chose differently than you would have chosen before. Maybe you didn't even realize how significant your choices were in the moment. Maybe they seemed small or ordinary. But in the spiritual realms, nothing is small. Every choice sends ripples through dimensions. Every action creates consequences that echo through time. And the choices you made during the supermoon sent a clear signal to the universe. This one is ready. This one can handle more. This one has done enough inner work that they can now be trusted with outer manifestation. And so the gate opened. You passed through, and now your body is adjusting to the atmosphere on the other side of that gate. Let me tell you about the 7 sacred symptoms that confirm your passage. And as I describe each one, I want you to notice whether this has been part of your experience since November 5th. If you recognize 3 or more of these symptoms in yourself, it is undeniable proof that you have successfully completed this initiation and are now operating at a higher level of consciousness than you were before the supermoon. The first sacred symptom is a deep, bone-level exhaustion that feels different from regular tiredness. You might be sleeping more than usual, or your sleep might be disturbed by intense dreams. But either way, you wake up feeling like you've been working all night. And throughout the day, you feel a heaviness in your body that makes even simple tasks feel like they require enormous effort. This is not laziness. This is not depression. This is your body doing profound work at the deepest levels while you rest. Think of a caterpillar in its cocoon, dissolving into liquid before reforming as a butterfly. The caterpillar isn't lazy. It's undergoing total transformation that requires all of its energy. That's what's happening to you right now. Your old ways of being, your old patterns, your old limitations, they're being dissolved at the cellular level so that something entirely new can form. Your body needs massive amounts of rest and energy to complete this metamorphosis. Honor the fatigue. It's holy work. The second sacred symptom is changes in your relationship with food and eating. You might find yourself craving foods you never wanted before, or completely losing interest in foods you used to love. Your appetite might increase dramatically or disappear almost entirely. You might feel intuitively guided to eat certain things at certain times without understanding why. This is because your body is becoming more sensitive to the energetic quality of food, not just the nutritional content. Everything you consume carries vibration. And now that you're operating at a higher frequency, your body knows exactly what it needs to maintain that frequency. Foods that are heavy, processed, or energetically dead will suddenly feel wrong to you because they lower your vibration. Foods that are alive, fresh, grown with intention will suddenly appeal to you because they support your transformation. Trust these new instincts about eating. Your body is wiser than any diet book or nutritional advice. It knows precisely what fuel it needs for the journey ahead. The third sacred symptom is experiencing heat or cold in unusual ways. You might have sudden waves of intense heat that make you feel like you're burning from the inside, even when the room is cool. Or you might have chills and feel cold in your bones, even when you're wrapped in blankets. Sometimes you might experience both extremes rapidly, feeling hot one moment and freezing the next. This temperature fluctuation is a sign that your inner fire, your spiritual energy, your life force, what ancient traditions call kundalini, or ki, or prana, is activating at higher levels. When spiritual energy moves through your system in greater volume than you're accustomed to, it creates sensations of heat. When old, stagnant energy is being cleared from your system, it can create sensations of cold as that dead energy releases. These temperature shifts are evidence that your energetic pathways are opening, expanding, clearing blockages that have been there for years or even lifetimes. Let the heat flow. Let the cold release. Your inner thermostat is recalibrating for a higher set point. The fourth sacred symptom is heightened sensitivity to everything around you. Since the supermoon, you might notice that lights seem brighter, sounds seem louder, smells seem stronger. You might find yourself overwhelmed in crowds or noisy environments that never bothered you before. You might pick up on other people's emotions so intensely that you can't tell what's yours and what's theirs. You might feel physically affected by violence or negativity in movies or news in ways that didn't impact you previously. This increased sensitivity is not weakness, it's power. It's evidence that your perceptive abilities are expanding beyond normal human range. You're beginning to sense the subtle energies, the emotional frequencies, the spiritual dimensions that exist behind and beneath physical reality. This is the beginning of what people call psychic ability or intuitive gifts. But it's really just your natural human capacities coming online at fuller strength. Yes, this sensitivity can be uncomfortable in a harsh world, but it's also what will allow you to navigate with wisdom, to read situations accurately, to know truth from lies, to sense danger before it manifests, to recognize opportunities that others miss. You're being given spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. Learn to work with this gift rather than wishing it would go away. The fifth sacred symptom is emotional waves that seem to come from nowhere and pass just as mysteriously. You might suddenly feel overwhelming sadness and find yourself crying without knowing why. Or rage might surge through you with an intensity that shocks you. Or joy might bubble up for no apparent reason. These emotional waves are not mood swings, and they're not mental illness. They're purification. Your emotional body is clearing itself of old material that you've been carrying, sometimes for your entire life, sometimes from your ancestry, sometimes from past experiences you've forgotten. Emotions are energy, and when energy is stuck, it creates blockages in your system. Now that you've passed through the initiation gate, those blockages are being cleared so that energy can flow freely through you. The emotions rising to the surface are on their way out, not settling in to stay. So when these waves come, the best thing you can do is feel them fully without attaching stories to them. Cry if you need to cry. Scream into a pillow if you need to release rage. Laugh if joy comes bubbling up. Let the energy move through and out. Don't try to understand it or analyze it or figure out what it means. Just let it flow. You're clearing decades of accumulated emotional debris in a matter of days. Of course, it's intense, but it's temporary. And what's on the other side is emotional freedom you haven't felt since you were a young child. The sixth sacred symptom is physical sensations in your spiritual centers, particularly your head, your chest, and your belly. You might feel pressure at the crown of your head, as if something is trying to open there. Or tingling and vibration in the center of your forehead between your eyebrows, or expansion and sometimes aching in the center of your chest in your heart area, or warmth, butterflies or swirling sensations in your solar plexus or lower belly. These are your power centers activating at unprecedented levels. Every human has energetic centers in their body that govern different aspects of consciousness. Centers for connection to spirit, for intuition, for love, for personal power, for creativity. Most people operate with these centers only partially open, like lights on dim. But when you pass through an initiation, these centers open wider, let in more light, begin functioning at fuller capacity. The physical sensations you're experiencing are the feeling of these centers expanding. Your crown center is opening to receive guidance from your higher self and spiritual teachers. Your third eye is activating to perceive beyond physical sight. Your heart center is expanding to hold more love and compassion. Your power centers are strengthening so you can take effective action in the world. These sensations mean your spiritual technology is upgrading. You're becoming a more powerful receiver and transmitter of consciousness. The seventh and most important sacred symptom is an unshakable knowing that you are not the same person you were before November 5th. This isn't a physical symptom in the usual sense. It's a shift in consciousness that has physical effects. You look in the mirror and something seems different even though you can't point to what changed. You move through your day and notice you're responding to situations in new ways without consciously deciding to respond differently. You find yourself less interested in things that used to captivate you and more drawn to things you previously overlooked. You feel like you're watching your life from a slightly different angle, with fresh eyes. Old fears don't have the same grip on you. Old desires don't pull on you the same way. You feel more solid, more real, more present in your own skin. This is because your consciousness has shifted to a higher vantage point. You're seeing from a wider perspective now, and once consciousness shifts, it doesn't shift back. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't unsee what you've now seen. This inner knowing that you fundamentally changed is the most reliable indicator that you pass the test. Because the test wasn't about doing anything specific. It was about becoming someone new. And you have. If you're experiencing 3 or more of these 7 sacred symptoms, then what I'm about to tell you next is absolutely critical to your journey forward. You have passed through the gate. Yes, you have been marked as ready, yes, but passing the initiation is only the beginning. Now comes the phase that determines whether you can hold what you've been given, whether you can sustain this new level of consciousness, whether you can embody this higher frequency in your daily life. Because the universe has seen many souls pass through initiation gates only to panic, to resist the transformation, to try to go back to who they were before, because the discomfort of change felt too intense. And when that happens, when someone receives the upgrade but refuses to integrate it, they don't lose what they gained, but they do create tremendous suffering for themselves as they fight against their own evolution. So, starting today, November 8th, you must make a commitment. You must commit to honoring what your body is going through. You must commit to supporting the transformation rather than resisting it. You must commit to being gentle with yourself during this recalibration period, because your body is doing something extraordinary right now, something that most humans never experience in their entire lifetime. Your body is becoming a vessel for higher consciousness. It's restructuring itself to hold more light, more love, more power, more wisdom than it was designed to hold before. And that restructuring requires your cooperation. You cannot rush it. You cannot force it. You cannot schedule it around your convenience. You have to surrender to the timing of your own transformation and trust that your body knows what it's doing. Here's what that cooperation looks like practically. First, you must rest more than you think you need to. When your body asks for sleep, give it sleep. When it asks for stillness, give it stillness. Don't push through the exhaustion because you have obligations, or because you think resting is lazy, or because you're afraid of falling behind. You're not falling behind. You're going through a sacred process that requires massive amounts of energy. And that energy has to come from somewhere. If you don't rest, if you keep pushing, if you ignore what your body is asking for, you will create illness. You will force your body to shut you down through sickness, because that's the only way it can get the rest it desperately needs. So honor the fatigue before it becomes something more serious. Clear your schedule as much as possible. Say no to things that aren't essential. Give yourself permission to do nothing. This is not indulgence. This is sacred self-care during a critical transition. Second, you must listen to your body's wisdom about what it needs. If it's asking for certain foods, eat those foods even if they don't fit your usual diet. If it's asking you to avoid certain foods, avoid them even if you love them. If it's asking for more water, drink more water. If it's asking for movement, move, but gentle movement, like walking or stretching, not intense exercise that depletes you further. If it's asking for time in nature, find time to be outside, even if it's just 10 minutes. Your body is communicating with you more clearly right now than it probably ever has before. It's telling you exactly what it needs to complete this transformation successfully. But you have to slow down enough to hear it, and you have to trust what you hear enough to act on it. Your mind might argue with your body's requests. Your mind might say, that doesn't make sense, or that's not practical, or that's weird. Ignore your mind. Your body's wisdom is more ancient and more reliable than your mind's logic. Third, you must protect yourself from energy that would disturb your transformation. Your system is extremely sensitive right now, extremely open, extremely vulnerable to outside influences. You're like a wound that hasn't scabbed over yet. You need to keep it clean and protected, or it will become infected. So you must be very careful about who you spend time with, what media you consume, what environments you place yourself in. Avoid people who are negative, pessimistic, dramatic, or chaotic. Their energy will destabilize yours. Avoid news and content that triggers fear, anger, or despair. Those frequencies will pull you down. Avoid crowded or harsh environments that overwhelm your sensitive system. Create a bubble of peace around yourself. Spend time with people who are calm, positive, spiritually aware. Consume content that uplifts, inspires, expands your consciousness. Stay in quiet, gentle, harmonious environments as much as possible. This isn't forever. Once your transformation is fully integrated, once your new frequency is stabilized, you'll be able to move through harsh environments without being affected. But right now, protection is necessary. Fourth, you must create sacred space for your spiritual practices. Meditation, prayer, journaling, breath work, energy clearing. Whatever practices help you connect with your higher self and with divine guidance. These need to become daily non-negotiables, because here's what's happening. You've been given access to higher consciousness, but you need practices that help you stay connected to that higher consciousness. Without those practices, you'll slip back into ordinary awareness, back into ego consciousness, back into the small self that operates from fear and limitation. Your practices are the bridge between your human self and your spiritual self. They're how you remember who you really are. They're how you tune into guidance. They're how you clear energy that doesn't serve you. Starting today, commit to at least 20 minutes of spiritual practice every morning before you do anything else. This sets your frequency for the day. This reminds you that you're not just a physical being trying to survive. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and you have access to infinite wisdom and support. Fifth, you must start watching for the signs that the universe is sending you to confirm you're on the right path. Because now that you've passed the initiation, you're going to start receiving guidance in new ways. You'll see repeated numbers, especially sequences like 111, 222, 333, 444, 555. You'll encounter the same messages or themes from multiple unrelated sources within a short time. You'll have dreams that feel more vivid and meaningful than usual. You'll experience synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel like the universe is winking at you. You'll get sudden intuitive hits about what to do next. All of these are communications from your spiritual support team, from your guides and angels and higher self, confirming that yes, you passed the test. Yes, you're being guided. Yes, you're exactly where you need to be. Pay attention to these signs. Write them down. Thank the universe when you notice them, because the more you acknowledge the guidance you're receiving, the more guidance you'll receive. The universe responds to grateful attention. Now let me tell you what's going to start shifting in your external reality as a result of passing this test. Because the transformation isn't just internal. It's going to manifest in your physical life in tangible ways. The first thing you're going to notice is that certain relationships will naturally begin to fade or dissolve. People you used to spend time with will suddenly seem less available or less interested in connecting with you. Or you'll find that when you do spend time with them, the connection feels hollow, like you're speaking different languages, like you no longer have much in common. This is not rejection. This is not them abandoning you. This is a natural consequence of vibrational change. You're now operating at a frequency that simply doesn't match theirs anymore. And when frequencies don't match, people naturally drift apart. Don't try to force these relationships to continue if they're clearly ending. Don't guilt yourself about growing beyond people who can't grow with you. Release them with love and gratitude for what they brought to your life. And trust that new people who match your current frequency are on their way to you. The second thing you'll notice is that opportunities you've been waiting for will start to appear, often suddenly and unexpectedly. Job offers, creative projects, invitations, collaborations, financial windfalls, doors opening that were previously closed. This is the universe responding to your new frequency by rearranging your external circumstances to match your internal transformation. But here's what's tricky. These opportunities might not look exactly like what you thought you wanted. They might require you to step outside your comfort zone. They might ask you to take risks. They might challenge you to trust, even though you can't see the full path forward. Don't reject these opportunities because they don't match your preconceived ideas. Remember, you're operating from a higher perspective now. And sometimes what your soul knows you need doesn't match what your ego thinks it wants. Be willing to say yes to opportunities that feel right intuitively, even if they don't make perfect sense logically. The third thing you'll notice is that your manifestation abilities have significantly increased. Things you think about, desire, or focus on will start showing up in your life much faster than they used to. This is both a gift and a responsibility. It's a gift because you now have more power to create the life you want. It's a responsibility because you have to be more conscious about what you're thinking and focusing on. You can't afford to indulge in negative thought patterns, victim stories, or fear-based fantasies anymore. Whatever you feed with your attention will grow. So if you catch yourself dwelling on what's wrong, on what you lack, on what you fear might happen, stop. Redirect your attention immediately to what you want, what you're grateful for, what you're excited about creating. Your thoughts are more powerful than they've ever been. Use that power wisely. The fourth thing you'll notice is that your tolerance for anything inauthentic has dramatically decreased. Situations where you have to pretend, where you can't be real, where you're expected to play a role rather than be yourself, these will become unbearable. Jobs that require you to compromise your integrity. Relationships where you can't speak your truth. Social situations where you have to maintain a false persona. You won't be able to tolerate these anymore. And this might force you to make difficult choices, to leave situations that no longer serve you, even if they provide security, to speak truths that might upset people, to risk disapproval by being authentic. These choices will feel scary, but they're necessary because you can't hold your new frequency while living in circumstances that require you to be someone you're not. Your authenticity is now non-negotiable. And the fifth thing you'll notice is a growing sense of purpose and direction that you didn't have before. You might not know all the details yet, but you'll start to feel a pull towards something, a knowing that you're here for a reason, a sense that you have work to do that matters. This is your soul mission beginning to reveal itself. This is the purpose you incarnated to fulfill, starting to come into focus. Don't expect a complete blueprint all at once. Purpose reveals itself gradually, step by step. But trust that you're being guided. Trust that the next step will become clear when you need it to. Trust that you didn't go through this initiation for no reason. You're being prepared for something specific, something important, something that only you can do. Now, I want to address the fear that might be arising as you read all of this. Because transformation is beautiful, yes, but it's also terrifying. The old you is dying. The familiar is dissolving. The known is being replaced by the unknown. And your ego, your small self, your survival mind, it's panicking. It's trying to convince you that something is wrong, that you should go back, that you should make everything return to how it was before. You're going to hear voices in your head that say things like, "This is too much. I can't handle this. I want my old life back. I'm not special enough for this. I'm going to fail. I'm going crazy." These voices are not truth. These voices are just your ego's fear of change, fear of death, fear of transformation. Don't listen to them. Don't let them convince you to turn back now, because here's what you need to understand. You cannot go back. The gate you pass through doesn't work in reverse. Once your consciousness has shifted, it doesn't unshift. Once you've seen from a higher perspective, you can't unsee. You can resist the transformation. You can make it harder than it needs to be. You can suffer unnecessarily by clinging to what's dying, but you cannot undo what's already been done. You cannot return to who you were before November 5th. That person no longer exists. So, your only real choice is this. Do you move forward with grace, cooperating with your transformation, trusting the process? Or do you move forward while fighting every step, resisting the changes, making yourself miserable? Either way, you're moving forward. You might as well do it with grace. And let me remind you why this matters, why this transformation you're going through is not just about you. The world right now is in crisis. Humanity is facing challenges that cannot be solved with the same level of consciousness that created them. We need people who can think differently, feel differently, perceive differently. We need people who are operating from higher consciousness, who can see solutions that others miss, who can hold love when everyone around them is drowning in fear. We need people who have done their inner work, who have faced their shadows, who have chosen truth over comfort repeatedly until truth became their nature. That's what chosen ones are. That's what you are. You didn't pass this initiation just so you could have a better personal life, though you will. You passed this initiation because the planet needs conscious humans right now. Because the collective needs people holding higher frequencies. Because humanity needs examples of what's possible when someone commits fully to their own evolution. Your strange body symptoms are not problems. They're proof that you answered the call. Proof that you're being prepared for service.